So I wanted to play that solo for you over a triplet feel, okay? Lots of legato things in there, just really nice phrasing. And I just wanted to play that as a demo. But in this section, to talk about ornamentation and contemporary marks of expression. And we probably all know what those things are. You know, you've got dynamics, trills, turns, legato, staccato, those kind of things. And they're all marks of expression of how you would interpret your phrases, okay? And we probably all know what those things sound like, but we're going to pull up the track in a second, and I'll just give you a little kind of demonstration of what those things are and what they sound like. And, you know, obviously we need to add these now to our rhythmic phrases to make them more musical. All right, so anytime you add these ornamentations and the dynamics to your phrases and your playing now, it makes it more musical. Just playing stiff phrases doesn't work. You've got to glide into them, you know, make them softer, louder, using the guitaristic kind of techniques that we all learn. Okay, so once you've got the phrasing down and the placement and everything else, then start working on the ornamentation and the expressions. Okay, so let's pull up the track. And I'm just going to play a couple of things across that so you hear each of those, you know, contemporary marks there. So that would be a trill, all right? We all know what that's like, and Eddie Van Halen with his two-handed tapping and stuff. So that's a trill. Here's dynamics. Okay, so now you know you're playing softer, louder, finessing the notes, all right? Dynamics can be very powerful. You know, just choosing the notes, phrasing them, but what about the loudness, the softness? Maybe adding the trills, all right? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to play you legato phrasing, which is that soft, smooth kind of phrasing where the notes kind of flow together. And, you know, it's a whole different approach. So you're not picking every note. You're maybe hammering onto the notes and letting them flow. So let's hear that. Okay, and there are guys out there, Alan Holdsworth, you know, is a master of the legato playing. Lots of those great rock guys play the legato stuff really, really nicely. And, you know, it's one of the things that I think you really develop as a technique, all right? Now, you can play that into your phrasing. Legato could also be slurs, so sliding into notes. So I'm going to play some slides now, which could also be considered legato playing because it's a smooth flowing approach. So think about it. You can hammer on and pull off for legato. You can also pick the notes, but then glide through them without re-picking them. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of that too. Here's slurs and glissandi. Okay, so you get the idea. I'm sliding through those notes as opposed to re-picking them. All right, so we've talked about dynamics, we've talked about legato. Now we need to look at staccato. Now staccato would be when you pick the notes, and true staccato phrasing would be the note value would be sounding half the value of its written value, if that makes sense. So instead of it being a quarter note, it sounds as an eighth note. Instead of an eighth note being sounded, it sounds as a 16th, if that makes sense. And really what you're doing is you're muting or shortening the pitch and the sound of those phrases. And let's play that over the track just a little bit. And what I'm doing to create the effect a little bit is palm muting with my right hand. I'll just play some simple lines so you can hear how that staccato phrases sound. So basically you're, halving the value of the notes, and it doesn't have to be precise, but you get the idea. So we've got all these marks of expression now that we can use to embellish, ornament our music, okay? So we've got placement, obviously, which is our phrasing, our personal voice and where we express ourselves with our lines. We have note choices, which again is a personal preference. And then how do we express that with the ornamentation and everything else? And all of those elements go into making your personal voice and your personal approach on the guitar and on the instrument, okay? So keep in mind all of the elements add up to who you are. And I think that's a very important thing to remember. And you can work on each of these things separately, put them together, and what that becomes, it becomes your personal voice, which I think is very powerful. Okay, so you have the track. It's a very nice track to play over, all right? It has a really nice kind of rolling feel to it. If you're not sure of the scale to use, G sharp minor pentatonic would be great. G sharp minor, natural minor scale, Aeolian, which is B major scale. And I was just playing some notes around the B major scale to give you those kind of ideas. So pull up the track, maybe work through some of those expressions yourself. And if you want to study marks of expression in depth, you could actually go to some classical theory, and it will actually give you all the denotions of that, and you can maybe study that in more depth. Cool. Let's move on to the next segment.